Hello children and welcome to this video on the poem My Shadow, written by Robert Louis Stevenson, who was born on November 13th, 1850 in Scotland. He was a 19th century Scottish writer who was notable for most of his novels, especially for novels like Treasure Island, Kidnapped, etc. Yes, children, do you know that whenever there is light, someone follows you? Have you wondered who it is, children? Okay, you will get to know the answer at the end of my explanation. Before that, let's have some fun. So here, ma'am has a few riddles for you. I guess all of you know what is a riddle and all of you like riddles. I'm sure. Yes, children, the first question I have for you, the first riddle is, what has many keys but can't open any doors? Can you guess what, children? Yes, it is a piano. Let's look at the next riddle. I'm not heavy, but even the strongest man can't hold me for too long. Who am I? Any guesses? Okay, let me tell you. That is your breath. The next riddle. What spends all the time on the floor but never gets dirty? Can you guess who is that, children? Yes, that is your shadow. What is as big as you are and yet does not weigh anything? Can you guess what, children? Shadow. Very good. Okay, and the last riddle I have for you is, I can be short or I can be tall. I can dance against the wall. I can be any shape at all. What am I? You're right again. It is your shadow. So, do you ever know, children, how shadows are formed? Let me tell you. A shadow is made when an object blocks light, because light travels in a straight line. So, if it is blocked, a shadow is formed. And shadows are longer in the mornings and evenings and short at noon, because the sun rays are slanting in the morning and evening, whereas at noon it is just above our head. The size of the shadow depends on the position of the object from the source of light. So that is why at noon when the sun is overhead objects, it casts short shadows or sometimes no shadows at all. So now let's go into the poem. Ma'am will read the poem out to you. My shadow. The first stanza. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me. And what can be the use of him is more than I can see. He is very, very like me from the heels up to the head. And I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. Second stanza. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow. Not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. For he sometimes shoots up taller like an India rubber ball. And he sometimes gets so little that there's none of him at all. Third stanza. One morning very early, before the sun I was up. I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup. But my lazy little shadow, like an errant sleepy head, had stayed at home behind me and was fast asleep in bed. The poem describes the excitement of a child who is fascinated by his own shadow. It also illustrates a child's imagination and the pleasure children get in ordinary things. The child finds pleasure in the company of his own shadow. He is amazed at how his shadow follows him everywhere he goes. The innocence of the child is also seen when he thinks that the shadow is afraid of being alone. That is why it sticks to him all the time, is what the child assumes. And to his surprise, the shadow can get taller, smaller, and sometimes even invisible. So one day when the child wakes up before sunrise, he finds himself all alone and fails to find his shadow around. So he assumes that the shadow must be still sleeping in bed because he does not know the signs involved in it. However, what allures the reader is the way the poet has captured the imagination of a child so beautifully. The boy is fascinated with his shadow. He enjoys observing it. He says that he has a shadow which is always present with him wherever he goes and he does whatever he does. He is also saying that the shadow is just like him from heels up to his head, which excites him even more. The boy is taken by surprise as to how the shadow grows abnormally. In the sense, it is not like other children. Why does he state that is because all of a sudden he can find his shadow shooting up tall like an India rubber ball, and sometimes it is short even without his knowledge, which he has not seen happening to anyone else or anything around him. So everything seems strange, funny, and is beyond understanding to the little child. And at times it also makes him think that the shadow is a coward. Why? Because it always follows him wherever he goes. It is afraid to move around alone. It is present with him all the time and cannot do anything on its own is the child's perception. So the child assumes that the shadow is sometimes a coward. The kid also feels that there is more that he could do with a shadow than just observing the shadow following him around everywhere he goes. The poet goes on to describe a moment when the boy woke up from his bed one day early in the morning before the sunrise, and he was so happy to see all the dewdrops shining on every leaf and buttercup in his garden. And what was much more surprising to him was that his shadow was not with him at all. This made the kid more excited because it was the first time the shadow had not followed him. So he assumes that the shadow might have felt lazy and stayed back at home in bed. Thank you.
My shadow, my shadow, my shadow, my shadow. Everything I do, my shadow does too. My shadow can jump, my shadow can kick, my shadow